kilometers up to the big climb of the Alto Cruz de la Demanda, and that's going to be a thumping big climb at the end of what has been a very tough stage indeed, because we've had some pretty horrible conditions today with the wind blowing in the faces of the riders. They only averaged 28 kilometers per hour in the first 2 hours, and that gave some of the hopeful chaps the chances of getting away and trying breaking off the front of this big bunch, who weren't too bothered about the early breakaway group that we had go down the road. And let me put you in the picture about what exactly happened. After some 45 kilometers of racing, they went over the top of the Puerta de la Luna, 1,350 meters above sea level. Through the mist, the rain, the cold conditions, Rominger took that one ahead of Dufo. Konishev was third. Jalabert was in fourth spot. Cuesta fifth, and Blanco in sixth spot. Down the bottom, as they came out of the big climb along the flat part heading towards the first sprint of the day, we had 9 men go away, and what you're looking at on your screen now are the remnants of that 9-man group, if you call 5 men remnants, but certainly Tom Cordes together with Di Renzo, Rincon, Stevens, Pavanello, Werner, Zarabarisha, Nardello and Gallerini all went away and established quite a useful lead on the main pack. But for some reason or other, Tom Cordes decided to knock it on the head and went back into the main pack after some 15 kilometers out on the front of the bunch. Neil Stevens did the same thing and drifted off the front. Werner did the same thing, and that's left the group you see here on your screen now. These 5 men who really started to extend their lead. At one point it was over 7 minutes on the main field. None of these riders are a great threat overall in general classification. Look at this fellow at the front now. Guess who? Yes, Di Renzo. What a character he's been. He really has enlivened this race, and at least these riders back behind here will remember his name. But the big thing is, who's going to win the stage today? That gap has been coming down all the time. I'll say over 7 minutes at one point, and down then to just on 2 minutes and 30 seconds, getting towards the final big climb there. Gianni Bugno drifting through. The MG Techno Gym riders working very hard to look after the interests of their main man on general classification. Roberto Pistori lying 5th this morning on general classification, just some 6 minutes 54 seconds down on the yellow jersey of Alex Zülle. Looking through here, so also who's like to be wanting to go up to the front and drive this one on. Certainly looking at the Kelme Clubbers here, they haven't got themselves a stage victory as right on cue, talking about Zülle. The man himself drifts through here to the front of the peloton. They're followed by Axel Merckx. And look, the Once team are beginning to get on the front now. There's Jalabert on the right-hand side of your screen is beginning to move up as well. So it looks like the Once team, the far side of your screen, the white jersey. Can you see him? Can you see him? No, he's gone a bit now. Rominger is there, king of the mountain as well. Well, they've had a finish near this particular point in the past twice on the Tour of Spain, where Rominger won on both occasions, but the actual climb we are using today has not been used all the way up in exactly the same way in the Tour of Spain in the past. There has been a particular use of it in the Tour of the Rioja, and that was, about 3 years ago, when Mikel Zarabarisha, who was in the breakaway group at the front, won the stage that day. So he knows the climb, he knows what's ahead of him, as the Festina squad on the front now begin to put the pressure on to keep Dufo in contention. Also the MG Techno Gym team on the front now, Once coming through. I think they're getting a bit worried about that gap, as now we're going up towards this little special sprint, and that the Meta Volante, 191 kilometers to be covered, and the rain is coming down. So some 29 kilometers to go towards the finish, and here you see the 2 Once riders in the yellow jerseys, Zalabarecha and Rincon. They've been allowed a certain amount of latitude, but they're not riding too hard with this group. You may see that they go through occasionally, but there, Di Renzo coming back now in the yellowish jersey, drops just in the front of the Once rider. Thank you. And clears his lungs appropriately. Coming out the front then, the Scrigno Blue Storm rider, Gallerini, and that leaves Nardello doing the work right now. Fascinating that the Once have sent 2 more riders up with this little breakaway group. But look, they're not doing too much work. They roll off the front a little bit. But overall, on general classification, on the Once squad, Zülle they have in first spot. Jalabert in second spot, 1 minute 13 seconds back. Mocamara this morning started in 6th spot, 7 minutes 23 back. And the other rider from the Once team in the top 10. Neil Stevens in 10th spot at 8 minutes and 53 seconds. Looking here at Nardello, who won the stage up to the Alto del Taranco the day before yesterday. Well, 3 days back now. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? As the Lotus team start to try and put the pressure on here. That's Vallo Cebaldi, who's just drifted through the front, and I suppose even it's going to be late at night when we finally transmit this programme to you on Eurosport, that his sisters, I hope, will be glued to the screen watching in Great Britain and watching for the rest of the week. And of course, tomorrow, the 23rd of September, Steve Hodges' mother, Jan, is going to pop along and see her lad in action and have a word with him. There they are having a chat, and that's Arenas, number 72. So all the Festinas getting on the front here. They are a Spanish watchmaking company, and I've mentioned it before, but I mentioned it again in case you haven't caught up with it. They ride under the name Lotus in Spain, but Festina outside Spain, because they use the two brands depending on which market they're in. Alonso looking so strong at the moment. Certainly, they're happy to have these two men up with this group at the front. And through that sprint, well, the sprint bonuses today haven't really made much difference to the overall situation. The man in the jersey leading on the points competition for the intermediate sprints, Jürgen Wehner for Telecom, still sat in the main field there, as we're getting now very much towards the back end of the race. Bit of news for you British people who may be interested to know what happened today in the, yesterday in the Grand Prix de Nations. If you haven't caught up with it in your Sunday papers, and I doubt very much, as these lads having a quick drink of this special tonic which restores the inner man after being away for so long, because having gone away at 70 kilometres, they've now done well over 100 kilometres, 120 kilometres in the lead. Yesterday, Chris Boorman absolutely smashed the field out of sight in the Grand Prix de Nations, and his time 1 hour 25 minutes and 39 seconds put Bjarne Riis back in the second spot, 1 hour 30 minutes and 30 seconds. So nearly just over 5 minutes behind Chris Boorman was the winner of the Tour de France, and he only just got into second space, did Bjarne Riis, ahead of Olano. 1 hour 30 minutes and 50 seconds, so just 20 seconds separate these two. In fact, for a lot of the time trial yesterday, the Grand Prix de Nations, Bjarne Riis was behind Olano. He only came good toward the back end of the race, and young Chris Morrow was in fourth spot at 1 hour 31 minutes and 06 seconds. Yekimov was in fifth spot at 1:31:33. So that was the top five, which Chris Boorman, riding on his special bicycle with Zap Mavic gear system, zapped them all out of sight, and he must be in superb form for the World Championship, which is coming up in just 2 weeks now from today, which we should be showing you on Eurosport. Just over 2 weeks, so he's in fine form for that. Today's stage then, getting a bit dismal. They've worked their way down from the start this morning at the Parc Naturel de Carbenco, almost in a southerly direction, and they're going to a very interesting part of the world at the moment, and I'll tell you a little story about it, because I like these little stories, you see, because going through Santo Domingo de la Calzada, it's all to do with chickens. Yes, I've not gone off my tiny pointed head, but there's a lovely 13th century cathedral in this particular village, and a story which has been told, and it has an element of truth, because in fact even today there are 2 chickens in the cathedral. One is a hen and one is a cock, and they put them in there, and on May the 12th they chop the heads off, they kill them. And the reason is that many years ago, on a pilgrimage going through this particular area here, a young German decided not to take on the advances of a lady who was staying, or working in the hotel he was staying in, and she tried to take revenge upon him by planting something in his bag. I think it was a silver cup or something. So when he went to go out to the hotel, he was accused of stealing, and they then took the pilgrim off and hanged him, while his parents went on to the pilgrimage to Compostela. But when they came back to the gallows, they were amazed to find that their son hadn't died at all. He was there alive and well. So they went and found the village judge and asked him about the miracle at Santo Domingo, and the judge said that he's about to dig into a pair of roast fowl, laughed and said their son was alive, and as the birds were on his table, they both came to life and flew away. And so since then, 2 similar birds are kept in the cathedral. A strange story, but that is the story of this 13th century cathedral in this Santo Domingo de la Calzada, where the bunch is now thundering through. After this, though, there'll be no rest for the wicked. They're going to start that big climb up towards the finish at the top of the mountain. About 12 kilometres of serious climbing. It drags up a little bit to begin with, then flattens, then drags up again. And you can see that the Calme team has gone on the front here to try and get themselves a stage victory today. They really are smarting. They came into this race, the Calme team, already sponsored in bike racing in terms of the length of time they've been involved in the sport. There's the lads in green on the front. And Escartin, as I've said many times on this programme so far, got marooned on day 3, 7.5 minutes down when the Once boys put their hammer down, so they could look for a stage victory for them today. They certainly have got a lot to come back for, because after that terrible problem, they've still got a pretty good squad, by the way. Of the 9-minute start, except for Bruno Ora, who dropped out in the first couple of days or so, they've still got 8 of their men in contention in this race. They've got 25 kilometres to go, and the gap now is coming back to, right about 2 minutes on those breakaway riders up in front, who are still manfully trying to hang on to get the stage victory. And here they are. Really beginning to tackle the climb now. That's Nardello in the Nape colours, just drifting off the right-hand side there, who took that stage victory into the Alto de Naranco. And here comes the main group. Still just over 2 minutes. A sizable number of riders are still here, but I think somehow as they climb up this mountain, 1 or 2 of them are going to sadly be unable to hang on to it. And this could be the day when another sort-out will happen on the Tour of Spain, because looking at the profiles, we've got another big stage on stage 17. That's not tomorrow, but the day afterwards, the Alto del Amprio, where we finished 1,930 metres above sea level, with 60 kilometres of continuous climbing towards the end. So today and the day after tomorrow are the last 2 days when anybody can make any inroads on the gap to the leader, Alex Zülle, or attempt to get, as far as the mountain climbs are concerned, a significant victory. So Calme must do something today. Benesto must do something today, because they've not done much so far, and they're 2 big teams in the Spanish eyes, and they've got some good climbers in amongst them. They must try and do something today on this stage. But still, those 5 men are away. The gap is around about 2 minutes, as we're going to take a short break. So don't go away. More action on the Tour of Spain coming up after this. Of the field now, trying to get away from the 5-man group that set the pace right the way through since the 72-kilometre point when 9 men went clear. It whittled itself down to just 5 men after 90 kilometres. And now on this long climb, this tremendous rider here, who really has made a name for himself in the Tour of Spain, is desperately trying to get this stage victory. He won the stage into Salamanca on the stage from Avia on stage 11 in this race, and now he really has thrown down the gauntlet. He has won some, well, according to the books I've got, some 7 races as an amateur last year, although Richard Olchin, who knows these things because he's the expert, has sent me a fact to say he won 9. Well, who's going to fall out about 2 races? Well, I know this lad's going extremely well. He's like lone breakaways, like when he won the Tour, stayed in the Tour of Sardinia, which I had in my book but didn't have time to read out. And so suddenly he's now trying to win himself yet another stage. But I think that the Calme riders have other ideas about that, because here they are on the front having a go at pulling back those 5 men, and the gap is coming down all the time now. It was just over 2 minutes at the bottom of the mountain. The maximum had been 7 minutes, and suddenly you can see the long string of riders here under pressure on what is a very narrow-gutted road. It reminds me very much, despite the fact it's a lot hillier, of some of the roads in Wales particularly. And the greenery here you can see, because we're just on the edge of the Rioja country. We come up through the vineyards of Rioja, and now we're on the climb here. So green because the rains and the wind comes in off the Atlantic and deposits the damp stuff just up here, and there's ideal conditions further on down with the atmosphere and the soil for wine growing. And these riders now 1 minute 9 seconds down on the first group, who have lost Di Renzo, or at least he's gone away from. Look at the long string. right back down the road. The hammer really having gone down and stretched the field to the absolute limit. And Banesto coming up here on the front. What a strong team they're going to be next year when Olano joins them with, 4 of his henchmen from the Mappe squad. And it's amazing too, once like Miguel Indurain has gone out the race, they've been allowed a certain amount of freedom and they've come together now and they're starting to do something. All his domestics, when they're riding with the top man, they subjugate themselves totally to look after his needs and keeping him in the race, and then suddenly when he's gone they're allowed a lot of freedom. We've seen it before in the past so often. The 1 or 2 riders who have been there as domestics, once they're allowed freedom, start to go some, as we saw with Orlando Rodriguez yesterday, who tried to get himself a stage victory and went up to the zoo at the top of that big climb at Carbenco. And still they're on the front, riding away here as hard as they can do. And something tells me the way in which they put the hammer down now, they've calculated to an absolute nicety that they could well pull back those some of those riders in front. But will they know, as they pick him up one at a time, that Di Renzo's gone down the road? That's always the question. And here he is. Cantino Tollo, as I mentioned some few days ago, the wine company that handles wine, exported, imported. I understand my good friend Luigi has been back into Great Britain, and he had a restaurant on the west side of London that I used to frequent, and I didn't realise at the time, but he had his wines imported from the Cantino Tollo operation. And now the rest of the riders have been dropped by the Cantino Tollo rider, are down to just 4 men, struggling to stay with it. The 5-man group, it was originally, is now down to 4, and they're struggling. I think they're going to be swept up any moment. Look at the speed of the Banesto squad on the front. What a determined man he is. Nardello, who's also been in that breakaway group at the moment, had, the other day had, over 100 kilometres in the lead. They now look like they're being caught back. Nardello had some really good form this year. He got a second and a third in the DuPont on a couple of the time trial stages there, when he also had a third stage overall. He's now been swept up with the rest of them. They've got back Gallerini on the new pros from the Scrigno Blue Storm team with just some 10 victories so far this year. He's been sucked in as well by this group here. Nardello, also stage victor, he's been sucked up as well. Rincon and Zarabaitia have been sucked up too. One has to wonder, by the way, about Zarabaitia, who's off the front, as to whether they shouldn't have let him a bit more freedom, because he's had a lot of back problems in 1995, and he had finished second overall in the Tour of Spain in 1994. He tried hard today to stay away, but the hammer's gone down, and they've sacrificed him now, and he's back in that main group at the moment. And perhaps also, I suppose, the Once people try to get Rincon away to win the stage today, because he's off to Colombia, back to Duitama, where he was born, and that's, of course, where we had the World Road Championships last year. He's packing up and going away after quite a successful time as a bike rider, having had first stage in the Giro 1995, the Giro d'Italia, when he finished 5th overall. He's finished 4th in the Vuelta, had Rincon. He went with an early breakaway group. I'm sure that Once tried to get both Zarabaitia and Rincon into a position to win the stage, but the way in which the Festina team and then the Banesto team have put the hammer down and sucked it back. We haven't seen the Once doing any driving. First, because they had 2 riders down the road anyway, and secondly, they've got the yellow jersey. It's a wide chase, because none of the men up in front were any great concern overall on general classification, except riders from their own squad. So it's a good thing to allow the hammer to come down and other teams to ride themselves into oblivion, on the basis that then they could take advantage of maybe what might call an easy day. Because this morning Rincon was 26th overall, 16 minutes and 55 seconds down, and of that breakaway group he was the best placed man overall on general classification. So it would have been in Once's interest to allow that group to stay away, and they played another very good card indeed. I think that fellow Manolo Sainz, the director sportif of the Once team, he must really have this, he must sit there like a man playing a hand of cards. You know, he looks at his cards, and which one shall I play now? he looks again, and which one shall I play now? Because with putting Zarabetia and Rincon down the road after, what, some 75 kilometres, and both those two good quality riders, he's made everybody else ride today, and now the gap is just 37 seconds to Di Renzo, who went away with that breakaway group. So what a disappointment for the poor lad. He's going to be sucked in now, and I hope he isn't spat out the back, because it often happens when you've been away a long time, that when they finally catch you, particularly on a hilly part of the course, that you find yourself struggling. As the Benesto rider here, the riders on the front, I think aided and abetted by some of the Mao Jumbo Portuguese riders, they managed to recruit to help them, are doing what they can to pull back our lone escaper, who really has got a few problems. See the scenery? I said it, how much it reminded me of Wales, the sort of granite look of the territory, the nice greenery as well, the narrow roads, but of course the mountains are much steeper here. I've always felt back in Great Britain that we really ought to concentrate on having a damn good 5-day stage race or something. I know that they do have several stage races in Wales, and there's a nice one developing up in Lancashire, the Thwaites 4-day race, because the BCF are doing some mad scheme at the moment, the British Cycling Federation, to get some publicity company to try and resurrect and relaunch the milk race, the 14-day Tour of Britain, which must be very difficult to get financed, because you need constant television to support a budget with a thick end of 1 million. But I always felt that in Wales we've got some superb racing territory, as we have in Scotland as well, but so much easier to base a stage race in Wales where there's not a lot of traffic about the place, and the roads are extremely good for racing, and really wherever you put the race, providing you get television coverage and the scenery is good, people will watch, and that's what it's all about, television. Look at this. One man against the rest, and here he is, Di Renzo, this young pro. He really has, I think, if he packs up the season at the end of the Tour of Spain and says, that's it, I had enough for this year, at least he can go home in comfort. But I reckon we're going to see this fellow again. He reminds me very much of Kierpucci. He's not the same sort of mould as a mountain climber, but he's prepared to have a go. And I love bike racers who say, OK, I'm going to have a go today, and off they go, and they don't take any notice of all the big stars, and they're prepared to sort of hammer away, ride themselves into the ground, and if they've got the physical ability to do it, and one day they pull off a big one, he's won a stage already in the Tour of Spain, those people get themselves good contracts, and if they've got the continuing ability to grow with the sport, then they become characters in their own right. See all the police vans on the left-hand side here. As ever, the police patrolling the course to make sure that the people are kept off the road, but not a lot of people found their way up here at the moment. It's been a rather damp and dismal day. But the mass crowds at the top are in the clouds. It's been very miserable, very damp. And ahead of these riders, the conditions are very murky indeed. On the left-hand side, Romiger's beginning to move up, and still powering away here, the Benesto team. They've lost a couple of riders so far in the race, including Miguel Indurain. Are somehow, I think, when he's looking back now, that's a look of desperation. And so Di Renzo, his moment has come now. He's had, the thick end of 130 kilometres out on his own. That's, again, the best part of 100 miles. Oh, he's stopping! What on earth has happened to Di Renzo? He suddenly comes to a grinding halt. Well, there's no sense going on when they've caught you like that, but I'm not sure what happened. He put his foot down, and I somehow think it might have been the call of nature, and he decided perhaps to make... Here he is. Oh. Oh, dear. Well, at least he's comfortable now. He is off the back. How to go from the front to the back when the race is going full. It's not the place to do that sort of thing, young man. But I suppose he's decided he's not going to win the stage. He might as well make himself comfy. And now he's got to grovel back and try and get into this group here. Well, I've seen some things in bike racing in my time, but not at that when you're in the lead, pulling over the side of the road on the call of nature. But anyway, good luck to him, I say, and I hope you do too as well. Benesto really are giving this thing some stick. There's about 11 or 12 hairpin bends you see here. They're not quite as tight as you get on the Alpe d'Huez. A couple of them later on turn back on themselves, but these hairpin bends, you can actually ride them in a big sweep. It isn't like getting stuck on the inside of a hairpin bend where it turns into a mountain if you take the wrong line. But they do get a bit tighter further on up the climb. And there it is, that's a climb for you. You see 12.8 kilometres, the little red and white dots at the bottom showing the kilometres. So really the worst part comes from just where it says 8.5 and goes up from then onwards. So it's about, what, 9 kilometres, which is really the hardest part. And the actual climbing taking in 904 metres of actual climbing from the bottom to the top. That's about 3,000 feet or so. And that after racing for over 200 kilometres a day. That's about 130 miles they've done so far, and they've got this final 20 kilometres to go before the finish. And you can marvel at the athletic ability of these riders, and they grind their way up toward the top of the climb. Let's see who's going to win the race after this short break. The riders now spread-eagled on this climb up toward the top of the Alto Cruz de la Demanda. The stage then with just 7 kilometres to go after a very, very tough day in the saddle as far as the riders are concerned. They're being now blasted out the back on a stage which has covered 220 kilometres on this stage 15 of the Tour of Spain. In the first hour they only did 28 kilometres per hour. They did the same thing in the second hour into a very strong headwind. That 9-man breakaway group was whittled down then to just 5 men. Zarabaitia, Rincon, Di Renzo, Nardello and Gallerini. As they came to the bottom of this climb, they were just a couple of minutes ahead of the main field, and now the main field, having reeled them in, is all together, but they're spreading all the time, and the attacks are coming thick and fast to see who can get this stage. We started today with 133 riders. 3 riders have retired so far. Menjin's gone. He was the Lanterne Rouge for a few days. Acereo was gone, and Naiber, who said he's packing up at the end of the year, has gone as well. And this man's gone off the front. Clavero for the MX Honda Eurosport team to try and get the stage victory. So we're down now to 130 riders who are spread all the way down this mountainside. Of the 180 riders that started the Tour of Spain just on 2 weeks ago, we've lost 50 of them now in the race so far. So who's going to get the stage up this big climb? We had a first category climb, the Puerta de la Lunda, early on in the race when Rominger went over there in first spot to protect points for his King of the Mountains jersey. Dufo second, Konishev was in third spot. Jalabert fourth, Cuesta fifth and Blanco sixth. And watch this man right away off the front here. They dropped down off the big climb of the day, and the breakaway went away after some 72 kilometres. That 9-man group whittled down to 5, and now they've been absorbed by the main field, and most of them have been spat out the back as well. And it's now down to the very expert mountain climbers and those in contention for the overall honours to try and grind their way up towards the top of the climb. On the front, the Calmay colours here, they desperately need a stage victory. And at the back, the riders are now beginning to struggle. Look at them dropping off left, right and centre. Blanco's just disappeared off the front. He was one of those riders that went with that early breakaway group and got sucked in and spat out the back. And so, Clavero trying to get away and win the stage here. He's no great threat overall, 15th at the moment. He won a stage in the Gran Premio Lisbon Capital in 1993. So he likes the mountain climbing and he's working away from this group. Looking back down the mountain at the moment, we've come up through the Rioja territory. Rioja, by the way, the great wine producing area in Spain. It comes from the river Oca, O-J-A, and river is R-A-O-A, the river Rioja, and that's where the wine comes from. And those who sample it know it's very good value for money, by the way. And they come right to the vineyard, but right now they're going up toward the top here. Oh dear. Zarabaitia begins to struggle. He was in that early breakaway group, and now it looks like he's having some difficulty staying with the pace. What a great shame for a rider who had so much potential until he had that back problems last year. And still Clavero trying to stay away at the front. Ah, this is interesting. Working your way across this little lot, Romiger's in the white jersey, King of the Mountains. Pistori in the centre with the blue arm warmers on, the yellow things across the top of his shoulders. In the red jersey, Laurent Jalabert, who has got the jersey because he's leading on the points competition. The right jersey, on the right-hand side, the jersey of Zülle with a white hat on, the overall leader on general classification. So the big men are coming forward now. So poor Clavero's really got a problem. Typical mountain climber. If you look at his build here, again, very thin legs. Oh, he's got some company coming up, I think, here. Marcos Serrano, the Kelme Artec team, they sat on the front and they launched this man out now to try and catch up with... In fact, no, he's at the back of the pack, my mistake. I thought he'd gone off the front. We suddenly picked this fellow up. And he's way down, my mistake. I just looked up and saw this fellow at the back here. Or is he? Hang on. There's so much vehicles going on here at the moment. As Clavero goes through the point there, 5 kilometres. It is right, he has come through. There's so much traffic here, by the way. In fact, I'm surprised some of the riders with the motorcycles, the motor cars, I think, round about him. It becomes so difficult indeed for these riders on this climb. Fortunately, it isn't so hot. Oh, and Axel Merckx is suffering. 113, the Motorola rider. We caught a quick glimpse, by the way, then of the Mavic motorcycle up in front with 2 spare wheels. As here on the front in the yellow jersey is Neil Stevens. On the right-hand side of him is Zülle. Left-hand side, the Benesto mob beginning to gather round about. Axel Merckx, we know, was struggling at the back there, so it could be Boris Julich in the blue and red colours of Motorola on the left-hand side. So Clavero's still on the front. But what happened to that fellow from Kelme? Oh, here he is, he's coming up now. So confusing when the camera dipped backwards and forwards, and suddenly he's come up the front. I thought he was off the back, he's now joined up the front too. So Marcos Serrano has now come up. I like the name Marcos, by the way. I had a Marcos sports car myself some years ago, built of wood with a nice fiberglass chassis. In fact, they were competing Marcos cars in the big Spa race just over this weekend as well. So Marcos it is, but it's Serrano. The name Marcos on the car, by the way, came from Gem Marsh, M-A-R, and COS, which was Frank Costin, who built or was responsible for the design of the Mosquito wooden airplanes in the war. More useless information. What sort of gap they got, though? Stance on the front. What a day Once have had. They fired 2 men off in the leading group early on during the race, with Rincon and Zalabecha setting a hot pace earlier on. Now they've decided to come back to front after the breakaway group was caught by mainly the Lotus Festina team and the MG Technogym team. And here they are, Clavero. Oh, Serrano's caught up with Clavero. Now that's interesting, in fact, because as we look back at this group here, Serrano has also taken a stage in that race, the Capital of Portugal race, that Clavero's taken one. So the two know each other very well indeed. I think they take them in different years, though. Here they are, together. Both good climbers. Serrano on the front at the moment. Last year took the Grand Prix Montagne Volta a Murcia when he was second overall as well in the Volta Los Portos. So he's no slugger when it comes to climbing up the mountains. We've got 2 good chaps here together. They've kept themselves in the main field. They've not done much in the previous days. They've been there or thereabouts, and now they're trying to get this stage victory. A very good move on their part. Four kilometres to go. The Kelme rider on the front, Serrano. and just behind him, Clavero for the MX Honda Eurosport team. And what's the gap on your clock on the left-hand side? It's 17 seconds, 4 kilometres. That's not enough really, I suppose, but at the moment the big guns haven't fired yet, so as this road going upwards twists and turns and goes around some very steep little hairpin climbs, they may well be able to get out of sight, out of mind. I was mentioning early on, by the way, that this reminded me of Wales. I should say perhaps Scotland, because you're getting all these fir trees. And my thoughts go out to my good friend Phil Liggett, riding from Land's End to Donnegroats with his wife Tricia, and the two Austrians, Chris Weymouth and Glenn Vega. They're now going up into Scotland. They'll be up through to Braemar tomorrow night on the stage from Dunning to Braemar, and then on the way up towards Inverness over Tomintoul and all those lovely great mountains up in Scotland, places I've known well from the old Land's End Donnegroats many years ago. Good luck, Phil. Keep going for the Dave Renner Memorial Fund. Oh, look at that. Ahead of these riders, that mist is coming down on the finish line, making it very difficult indeed to look down and see what the hell is going on. Very chilly too. Time for winter woolies, gloves, anoraks and hats over your ears. Up the top here, these riders are suddenly going to find themselves in amongst the clouds. What a sharp contrast then to the heat of the Costa del Sol when the temperature was in the mid-30s. We're moving right up north into Spain. The race will then sweep downwards in towards the middle of Spain to finish in Madrid on Sunday week. The sprinters are still struggling to stay with the race whilst these mountain climbers have their moment of glory. In fact, we lost so many of the top sprinters in the big climb. They just can't stand the pace. They have to stay inside the time limit. 130 riders now left in the race. The retirements we've had so far today of Menjin, Azareo and Nibor take it down to 130 riders. And something tells me a few more might climb off in the next couple of days. But a long season they've had, starting way back in January this year. Neil Stevens rode well in the early season, taking what was the route at one of the big tours down in the south of Spain, having ridden throughout the summer of Australia and the winter we've got. And it's a long, old, hard year as far as these bike rides are concerned. Stevens still there in the centre of your picture. Looks like Festina on the right. Is that Tiboldi? Rominger on the left in the white. Zülle in the centre. Pistori on the right-hand side. A quick run down as we go up toward the top of this climb on the general classification. How's that this morning? These two are no great threat to Alex Zülle, who leads Laurent Jalabert by 1 minute and 13 seconds. On general classification, Dufo of the Festina team, Lotus Festina, is at 5:20 in third spot. Neil Stevens galloping up here at the moment. He's lying 10th overall, 8 minutes 53 seconds down. He also rides for Once. I think he's just going up to mark those two men that have gone down the road. So after Dufo in third spot, Faustini, who seems to be sliding off the back at the moment, is fourth at the moment at 6:33 overall in general classification. And then in fifth spot, Pistori, 6:54. Mauri is sixth at 7:23. Lebellin seventh at 7:28. And Toshnik eighth at 8:09. It's all happening right now. The riders up toward the final part of this long, gradual climb now begin to feel the pace just a bit too much for them. They're drifting off the back. And up the front then, as we just saw, Oliver Rincon begin to struggle. The battle is going on for the first place overall as our two leaders have just now been caught then. So bad luck for the rider Clavero from the MX Honda Eurosport team on the right-hand side of your screen, and Serrano of the Calme team in green, now been absorbed. So who's going to win the stage today? There are 12 seconds, 8 seconds and 5 seconds bonus for the riders overall. And really, I suppose those who are most in contention and closely for those bonuses could be Pistori this morning. Faustini was just, some 21 seconds ahead of him. So if Pistori could get the stage and put Faustini way back down the pack, he could move up then into fourth spot. But oh, yet again the attacks are coming from Clivera. What a game fellow this man is here. You see 15th overall, 13.32 down, but somehow he's marked out again by the Banesto rider. The overall classification won't change enormously, but certainly one or two riders could shuffle themselves and find their positions altering by 1 or 2 places. 2 kilometres to go. But the question is, who can win this stage today? One of the classic stages of the race, mountaintop finishes are much savoured by the riders to say, yes, I won that one, because they can remember the big mountaintop finishes. So many people say that I won the Alpe d'Huez in the Tour de France, because that's one of those classic mountaintop finishes. And if you can actually be a winner on a ride like this, people know you as a very specialist rider. There was Stefano Fastini, number 12. He just drifted off the right-hand side, so he's a bit off the back at the moment. He's got to hang on in there. I'm sorry about the picture problem at the moment, but Fastini is beginning to struggle just a little bit. As Jimenez starts to put the pressure on the front, the Banesto rider, there he goes. No great threat overall in general classification, but looking for a stage victory today. Banesto needs something. Ever since Indurain retired from the race, they've been looking for a stage victory. Yesterday, their rider, Orlando Rodriguez, the Portuguese rider, tried to get the stage victory, but failed. Rodriguez, who had tremendous success in Portugal, riding in their races over there, drafted into the Banesto squad to help Indurain in the climbing. Tried yesterday with a long lone break to get the stage victory, but it was not to be. He got beaten right at the very end of it by Conte, who scored his second success in the Tour so far. Jimenez now looking for a stage victory, and there Jalabert starts to move to the front, keeping his eye on Pistore. Zülle on the right-hand side in the yellow jersey with the white hat. The Swiss-born rider of a Dutch mother, I'm sure must be also looking forward to the World Championship in Lugano. But Jose Maria Jimenez is really burying himself on the front here. So Jimenez is away, and the rest of the field now deciding who will make the chase next. On the left-hand side, Dufo starts to come forward, the rider from the Lotus Festina team, riding up alongside Jalabert. Who is going to launch themselves off to try and pull back Jimenez, or will they try and wait to see if he will fade? So Jimenez still leads. The main pack is shortly behind him. Not far to go on this stage finish up the top of this big mountain at Demanda. Now with 1 kilometre to go, it looks as Jimenez might get his stage success. This man who comes from Avilla, we've been through there on a stage already. We're actually going to have another stage there. Can he go home with this big mountaintop stage in his back pocket? The bunch can see him. He's still in sight, but only just. And the enthusiastic crowd is urging them on as Jalabert takes up the chase with, on the right-hand side, Zülle, and this is the man they're trying to chase down at the moment. Had so many places in the top 10 last year, and the only big success he had last year was the stage in the Tour of Catalonia. He's also won stages in the Tour of Rioja when he won the Tour of Rioja overall, so he likes the little mountains. And suddenly it's Stevens that takes up the chase. That is unbelievable for this Aussie, this hard-riding, gutsy performance from down under. Riding for the Once team, he transfers to Lotus Festina next year, but what he's showing now, he's not saying, look, I'm leaving your team next year, I'm going somewhere else. He's working his butt off for the Once team to pull back this man from the Banesto squad. Jose Maria Jimenez, the 25-year-old, trying to stay away of this pack, and they're moving up into the murky mist. They're breathing in now, lungs filling with dampness of the oxygen. They're trying to get inside their lungs because they're some 1,900 metres above sea level. They've been riding now nearly 220 kilometres of racing. That's about 137 miles in all. And I'm sorry about the problems we've got with the picture right now. I hope it all comes back to you. But we seem to have lost it, and through the murk and the gloom you can see the problems we've got with our pictures, Still, Jimenez tries to stay away, coming up toward the finish now. Everybody peering back through the gloom to see if the rider from Spain for the Banesto team can get Banesto the first stage victory in the Tour of Spain this year. And still trying hard to come up here away from the pack. You can see that they've decided, I think, they've had enough right now. Stevens is trying all he can to pull back Jimenez, and suddenly Jalabert starts to go. There's a tremendous activity behind Jimenez. I saw Jalabert start to go hard off the front, and still gritting his teeth, his hands on the front the handlebars, trying to get some extra effort out of his tired legs here in the cold, damp conditions, breathing in that damp atmosphere as Jimenez starts to ride in toward the finish. This reminds me of the time when Stephen Roche won that stage in the Tour de France up into La Baboule, and the bunch must now have him nearly inside him, excuse the expression, groping their way through here. Who's going to get the stage? This is so different a spot, and there on the right-hand side you see Zülle's come through. Zülle's come through ahead of Rominger, ahead of Jalabert, and there's Jimenez. He's been caught at the last minute. Oh, what a shame. To be caught, if I say within sight the finish, I could be wrong because you couldn't see the finish. But Zülle came through, and there he is. He's got the victory just ahead of Dufaux, Jalabert, Rominger. And in the gloom, can I spot that's Pistori, and there is Jimenez, who must wonder what on earth he had to do to win the stage as the rest of the riders come over the line now. They're going to be so pleased to finish, and look what that damage did to Zülle. Absolutely exhausted by that, and don't quite know why he put so much effort into it, because Jimenez could have been given the stage. He didn't have to win the thing. He's got the leader's jersey, and the trouble with Zülle, we have to be careful here. It's very cold, the atmosphere is damp. To me, he's a very fragile rider. And I hope to goodness, as Tony Rominger in the white jersey goes through, that Zülle hasn't in any way done too much. Jalabert going through here now, he's a strong man. And just finishing there, the two of the riders from the Motorola team coming across the line, Bobby Julich and Andrea Perron. But that was very, very hard for Alex Zülle. We've already, in fact, understand that one of the reasons that Indurain retired from the race was that he'd got a cold and suffering a bit with bronchitis. But you see the conditions here. We had some damp rain early on, we had some cold conditions as well, and Zülle for some reason launched himself off to get that stage victory, and that really did hurt him enormously. Well, it's his first stage victory he's got so far, Alex Zülle. He let Jalabert take the stage victory way back, what was that, on the one to Covadonga. But on this occasion, he just went across to get the few extra seconds vital bonus, but it didn't half hurt. Look at these conditions. Well, we're going back to an action replay from a slightly different angle here. The chaps on the right with the MBI things on their back. They're the heavy men, they're the security guards. They got away with our camera, but Zülle, as you see, they now run towards him to protect him. And everybody with the anoraks on, the gloves, and imagine that you've ridden this distance, 134 miles, up that hill, you've won the stage, but it's hurt. Of the stage overall on the screen as we read it out to. In the overall classification, just a few little bit change. The worst man out, Malcolm Maori, dropped back from 6th to 8th, but the rest are fairly well in place. For me, David Duffield, after Manana, see you tomorrow. So for the two riders up in front, some useful publicity at the moment, but I think their moment could well be over and done with, because you can see yourself there on the screen on this stage 16 from Longoria to San Miniago, that they're nicely in sight. They can see the two riders as and when the motorcycles don't block the view. And the yellow car on the right-hand side, the Mavic car, just waiting to see if they have any problems to service the bicycles for them. Any punctures, they get the wheels changed over very quickly. The other trouble, of course, is if the bike completely breaks. When you go and look at those service vehicles, and expert cyclists will know this, that there are at least 3 different sorts of clipless pedals. There's Time, there's Shimano's got one, and Look have got one. And the clipping system on many pedals is not compatible. So on the yellow car that you see there, that's the one down there, he's got some spare bikes on there, and of those 3 bikes, each of those 3 bikes will have different sets of pedals on them, so that if they do have a smash, the bike itself breaks down or gets a mechanical problem and the rider has to switch onto a bike, they've got one equipped with the sort of pedals that will fit his shoe. I mean, years gone by, it didn't really matter. They just had toe clips and straps, and you just rammed your feet into the toe clips, and more or less it worked. I mean, some people had slightly longer toe clips than others, but it wasn't too difficult to ride on with toe clips and straps. But with these clipless pedals now, where you clank your feet down onto the pedal and it locks itself in place, the different brands mean they've got to have different sorts of spare bicycles at the back. And the other thing which is happening right now, but not so much I think in this event, is that they're coming on with these 9-speed blocks at the back. We've all gone through the day. I can remember when a 5-speed gear was something. And bicycle shops were clamouring for 10-speed bikes to sell to the public. 10-speed bikes. But I mean, now you've got your 21 gears and your mountain bikes and so on. It seems a bit old hat, doesn't it? But the sprockets at the back have gone on from 3 to 5 to 7, and then up to 8, and now to 9 at the back. And what they've done with the 9 sprockets at the back, and yes, you do need all the gears, by the way, because you see how these lads' legs are going up and down now at this revs. What you try and do with your gears is keep the pedal revs going at about the same all the time. I mean, Bourne, when he broke his hour record, was pedaling at 106 revolutions per minute. And there's an optimum pedaling speed for your legs, and what you try and do with all these gears is to make sure at all times, whether you're going on the flat like this or whether you're going up a hill or you're going down a hill, that your legs actually going around about the same speed all the time. It's no good putting in a big gear and churning it like a thumping great windmill, because that will tire your legs out. Nor is it trying to put into a small gear and spin it round so you get twiddlebonk, because your legs just go like a blur. So you try and pedal at the optimum amount of revs, and most riders know what they are. And that's why they have these, most of them now, 8 sprockets at the back and 2 at the front. And you change the gear system so that you can keep the revs going at the same rate of knots. So when you have the 9-speed block, it's over the same width as the 8-speed, which means, of course, that you have to have a thinner chain. So if you've got a thinner chain, I don't think it works very well on an 8-speed block. They have the problems of spares and replacing a back wheel should somebody puncture it if your own team car doesn't do it. But all will be resolved, but they'll all be on 9-speed blocks shortly. The trouble is that the 9-speed blocks are made of aluminium and titanium, and that is very expensive, and the top racing teams can afford it, but it's going to be a very expensive thing for the team. That's why when you see a racing team can be costing you the minimum of £1 million will put you a racing team on the road at a lowish level. If you're going to do well, you want to spend between £3 and £5 million a racing team. That's for the year. And you can see, by the way, the wind blowing along here, how the rider's now back assisted. This again means that the bunch can quietly come along here. The 2 riders in front will be unable to make much of their breakaway, because it's so windy at the moment. It's only when you're turning at crosswinds that things break up, and there we are. It's over and done with. They're swallowed up, and we're back to situation normal. Everybody's setting themselves up for a sprint finish as they get inside the final 20 kilometres to go. Here they are, Skriniar Bluestorm looking for a 3rd victory with just 2 kilometres to go. The pale blue jersey, that of the Gewiss team, moving up toward the front because they've still got Minali in there. Another useful sprinter. Konishev likes to go for a long one. We mustn't forget Tom Steele's in the Mapei colours either. Nor Blademans for TVM. I'm talking now about riders we haven't seen hide nor hair of for many, many days, except at the back of the bunch when it's gone to pick him up. As we watch here, the Gewiss team start to wind it up, and they keep the pressure so fast here. And that fellow, by the way, that's Odrizoli, he has got back. He was the one that punctured. He's done his turn on the front. He absolutely rode himself to the ground. He's peeled over now. He's dropping back to the centre of that group. You see the Gewiss rider. He just went hammer and tongs to keep the pace up for Minali. He's done his job now. He's going back again. He must have tired legs having to chase since he had that puncture. And so the Gewiss now down to just 2 riders. The one is the lead-out man. The second one is Minali. As the Skriniar Bluestorm team have got a couple of riders in there as well at the moment. The telecom team setting it up as well. 1 kilometre to go. Absence of yellow jerseys for a change. Not many answers about the place, so they're going to keep out of trouble, I'm sure. There's no sense Jalabert going for this one. And looks like Chandri moving up on the left-hand side. The Motorola Rider, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back from the front. Well, normally he goes round about now, but they got the speed of this bunch, I think, is going to make it. But I've difficulty for Chandri on the right-hand side of your screen. He's busting away now. Chandri trying to come through. Going for this one. He's misjudged his sprint. He's got his best so far. I think I had a 3rd spot on the climb up here now. Chandri is in the centre. Has he got enough in his leg to stay away? As Gavis still keeping on the left-hand side in the pale blue. Got Minali right behind them. Telecom in the pale pinky colours and white. Setting it up then for Werner in the red. Werner's got a red jersey on, but I can't see him at the moment. And certainly the pushing and shoving going on in here. Still Skinner Blue Storm leading this one out at the front. Can Conti get yet another one? But suddenly explodes. He looks like Weserman coming through. Minali's on his wheel. And Wust is in there too. Wust is about 3rd in line now, trying to force his way through. Wust is on the wheel of Weserman as Minali goes across. Minali launches himself at the line. Minali goes and gets it ahead of Weserman. And Wust might have been 3rd or 4th behind him. And that was another victory again for the Italian Minali, which gives them 10 victories in this year's Tour of Spain. That's a record. Minali, victor of stage 2, stage 8 and 9. That gives him his 4th victory in the Tour of Spain, and this is how he did it. On the wheel of Weserman in the pale blue jersey. The MX Honda rider goes behind Minali, recognises the difficulty. That's the fellow with the white hat with the yellowish bike, but he stays behind Weserman, does Marshall Wust, while Minali swings right across the left-hand side, pumping his bike forward. Weserman just in behind him. And then Wust might have been 3rd or 4th, because down in the right-hand corner, it looked to me as if one of the Santa Clara riders might have popped up and beaten him to the 3rd spot. Let's look at that again from the side. As Minali takes the line. No doubt at all about that one. It's a gift to be able to sprint like that. And the telecom rider, I think he's Weserman. I maybe stand correct on that 1 second. And yes, it was Santa Clara in 3rd spot. And Wust had to be content with 4th. I think that was Ganganitov, the Russian rider from the Santa Clara squad, but I'll have to wait for confirmation of that one on the screen. But certainly their best success they've had so far for Santa Clara Samara. But for Minali, his 4th victory and the 10th in this year's Tour of Spain by the Italians, and he did it in convincing style. Top view of the sprint with Minali getting a lovely lead out there from the telecom rider, and flicked away to the side. Wust labouring on his bike in 3rd spot, just losing ground. A little bit of slight uphill drag here, wasn't helping him at all. Look at the power of this man here from the Gavis team. I was saying earlier on that they've ridden themselves up the mountains, these sprinters. They've just hung on there. We've seen some long, lonely straight roads today with the bunch hammering along there, have been really hurting the legs of everybody. And these survivors of the sprinters, because we lost one or two of them. Baldato's gone out of the scene now. He's packed it on the head. We've also lost Lombardi, Uchikov. We lost a number of the sprinters who just found it too much in the mountains. But those who've survived so far have licked their lips today and got the victory. There'll only be one more flat stage, the one into Saragossa. Sorry, 2 more, Saragossa and Madrid. And I wonder if the Italians can make it a nice dozen, because they've got 2 more stages. If they can make it 12, that'd be something. But Mr. Marshall Wust from the MX Honda team, also co-sponsored by Eurosport, will no doubt be given a strong wigging, because about time he won a stage. He won the final one last year into Madrid, so perhaps that's what he's waiting for this time. Minali last year had 3 successes, so he's gone 1 better this year to give him 4 successes. inside the final 9 kilometres then, and the main field chasing down the one lone rider we got out on his own at the moment, George Toshnig of the Polti squad, and looks like they're beginning to close up on him now. He won the Tour of Austria in 1993, and he was, believe it or not, they have a world military road champion as well. The lads are in the army, those who get drafted in. He won that in 1993. They have it every year, by the way. So Toshnig has been a champion, but a military champion as such. Comes from Kaltenbach in Austria. 25 years of age. Kaltenbach is what, some 50 kilometres from Innsbruck? And so when he started riding a bike at 16, he had to ride up mountains wherever he went, and right now he's tried to do some damage to the field, but it looks like they're going to reel him in. They've been around a long time now. He's been riding for Austria both as a junior and senior international, both in road race and time trialling, but he's really a superb climber. But they've got him back now. So Toshnig's moment of trying to spread the field up has come to naught. Oh, what's here going on at the back? Faustini, what's up, my young man? Number 12 there, Faustini, is sliding back, and these Mappe riders here looking over their shoulders. That's a Molan 93. Well, Faustini is beginning to drift off the pace. That effort that Toshnig put in has certainly got rid of Faustini, who was lying 5th this morning, and so Toshnig, who was in 7th spot. The difference between Toshnig and Faustini was 1 minute and 14 seconds, and the way that Faustini was beginning to struggle then, it looks like we might find him dropping out of the GC. Now that will be a great disappointment for Faustini, has been riding so strongly in this race so far. And they have put the hammer down. Well, they're certainly going to see off Faustini, 7th in the Tour of Italy this year. Really the sort of man who has surprised a lot of people with his performance in this race. And really at the head of affairs, looking at the rest of the riders that are surviving at the moment, Faustini must be going through one of those bad patches that affects a lot of riders at some point or other. So they might be sliding down a couple of places on the general classification. And that's it, there he is. Back in, and he's lost at least, I think, a minute on the moment. And that's why the camera's gone back to look at him, because he's in trouble here. As ever, onto the driving force. I can see the white jersey at Tommy Rominger. I said that I hadn't spotted him in that group of riders when it was 20 strong, but the top men now begin to come through here. The Once rider with just 7 kilometres to go on the front, working hard. It looks a bit like Rincon to myself, and then looking back, he's quite prepared to ride himself into oblivion until maybe about 5 kilometres from the finish, and then let the other two riders take over. He's still maintaining a very good pace here to stop anybody rushing past, as Toshnig did. They let Toshnig just go up the road and just gradually reel him in. I'll say so strong in the general classification, apart from the first Zülle, second Jalabert from Once. In 8th spot is Malcolm Mowry, and then in 10th spot was Neil Stevens. He's dropping off down the mountain now, so he might be struggling to stay in that 10th spot overall. And they've got Zalabecha in 13th spot, so they're well packing at the front of the Once team. And way down in 38th and 39th is Rincon and Kester. Kester then and Rincon, the stalwart Reinhardts, as we go past one of the military bases. So it's time to stop blacking your boots, lads. standing to attention. That's young Jimenez from Benesto trying to get that stage victory up through the murky conditions. They went up towards that zoo and the mist, which made it very difficult to spot him at Demanda. Well, he's still with this little group at the moment. I wonder if he's going to try and get revenge on the Once team for that one. And all the concern amongst the Spanish press that perhaps Once ought to just let him drift off the front and give Spain a victory in their home race. MX Indurain, it looks like Jano Clavero's riding quite well at the moment too. Number 14th overall in general classification. The MX on the Eurosport rider was just the tail end of this little group. Zülle looks so calm here, doesn't he? Just lying there to the left-hand side of his teammate on the front, then Jalabert in the red, then it'll be Pistori and Dufo together with Rominger just behind, Escartin with the green pants. The Polti rider with a hat on, I think that must be Rebellin, because we've seen Toshny go away without the hat. I should have thought climbing with one of those hard shell helmets on must be a very hot job indeed. Toshnik's still in there, and in fact Kelme managed to survive two riders up at the front. Back to Jimenez and Clavero. Jimenez in the Benesto colours, Clavero in the purpley pink colours of the MX on the Eurosport team. They make it look so easy, don't they, these riders, just sitting here, twiddling away, and right the way back down that climb, as far as the eye can see, there'll be other riders thinking, oh my goodness, and they're all good quality riders. The fellows that have been sort of shot out the back, however, at their time, won amateur races. They had to have a good career as an amateur before they could get a pro contract. They then turn pro. They may get the odd victory here and there in certain events, but after a while they realise they don't have the same class. As the attacks coming then from Kelme. They want to get a stage victory today, and Kelme rushing away off the front here. So they've got Serrano and Escartin, two very good climbers in the team, and suddenly Jalabert responds to that one. That came to nothing, and it's done damage. The attack means that the poor rider who started, I think it was Serrano, is now struggling because Jalabert responded and rushed past him. So further back here, these riders begin to struggle. That's Giannetti that's just up in front there, 142, Mano Giannetti of the Polti team. So where is Toshnig and Rebellin? There's one Polti rider left at the moment. This is doing enormous damage to overall classification. The top three on GC now are moving ahead. Jalabert here lying second overall, wears the red jersey. Dufo on the right-hand side, the Swiss rider from the Festina team, is lying third at the moment. And further back down the mountain here, struggling, Jimenez, drifting off the pace. And the top three in the Tour of Spain are now having their own little battle at the front. As the leader himself, Alex Zülle, the Swiss rider, takes over. And he's really beginning to struggle back here, is Escartin. They wanted the stage victory today. He's got to find something extra to get back to those three at the front and serve something to go past them. But is this Rincon going away now? We go back then on the Spanish TV because they want to see Escartin try and do something here. And he's fighting his way back up to that main group. But suddenly off the front, Once launch yet another satellite into orbit. All painted yellow, of course. And it is Rincon. I thought that was him with the very bronzed arms and bronzed leg, the Colombian. So perhaps they said to him, go on, Olivier, because this is his last season riding for Once. He's going back to Colombia at the end of the season. He's going to start riding for a Colombian team next year. And Escartin's struggling there. Romiger's losing the pace as well. Rominger in the white jersey. Oh, and a sudden stop. Something's happened. Take the camera back. Go on, cameraman. That was... Oh, I don't know. God, ticking off, slapping a wrist there. You see that? Suddenly the rider pulls the stop. He had a slight problem. The cameraman didn't even spot it. There he is. Coming back again. Now we've got him. Goodness knows what happened then. there you can see those white mountains in the distance. I told you just how high the mountains are here as they run up towards the top of the final mountain top climb of the Tour of Spain. Rincon, the Colombian, who comes from Duchama, where we had the World Championship last year, now trying to get some stage victory. Romiger's trying to fight his way back. Escartin hanging onto his wheel. And still Rincon pushing away at the front. Zülle is off the pace a bit here. Now what a panic day we've got today. This really is a great day bike racing today. As fast as you look at the screen, the camera goes up, goes back, picks up something else, and there's all hell let loose today. Rincon is just burying himself to try and get this stage victory. What a nice way it'll be to end his European career if he can get that stage victory today. Certainly, I thought that one time these riders here, the reddish coloured jersey of Jalabert and even further back Zülle, were just letting him go down the road and giving him a bit of a free ride to get the victory. But the way in which Zülle has also been shelled out the back, it says to me that Rincon's doing it all on his own right now. And there he is. And Dufo chasing after him now. Jalabert has to stay with Dufo now because he's threatening him for second place overall, but Zülle's being dropped behind. This is an amazing day in the Tour of Spain, where the whole thing has been split apart as Romiger starts an attack now. Way back in that group that Romiger with Toshnik, who tried to go away earlier on, and now they're pulling back with the overall race leader, and that is Alex Zülle. Now Zülle has got to go some now because Jalabert's teammate is down the road in that distance there, and the gap between Zülle and Jalabert is 1 minute and 23 seconds, and Zülle is beginning to struggle. They looked so triumphant further down the road, did Jalabert and Zülle, and they rode very well and got rid of these riders. Coming back to them now, coming back to Zülle. The Swiss rider Zülle being now caught by the other Swiss rider, Romiger. Oh, this is great stuff. 3 kilometres to go. Is Zülle going through just a short bad patch, or is he going to lose a lot of ground today? As Romiger comes up to him, is Romiger going to attack Zülle as well? I mean, the gap between these two is enormous as Rincon rides on here to try and get his stage victory at the end of a very successful career as a racing cyclist in Europe. It's Rincon trying to get the stage victory for Once, but he's done enormous damage in riding away just like this. What a difference in style. The short, punchy figure of Romiger, crouched over the front of the handlebars, the long, rangy figure of Zülle. Both of them gasping for oxygen in the thin air, and they're coming back up to Zülle, back up to Jalabert. So the acceleration of Romiger has helped Zülle go back to Jalabert. Jalabert was not going on the front and attacking. He merely followed Dufo, who's lying third overall in general classification. And he's looking back now to see what's happened to Zülle. And I think somehow that if Jalabert wanted to persist with that, he could have rode away, but he wouldn't. He had to stay with Dufo, that's all. And now Romiger's trying to get this stage victory. He's doing all the work. Romiger's come through. Escartin here. What a rocking start he's got. He tried to get away further down the road, but failed. Toshnik began to struggle. Pistori also losing a bit of ground. Rincon has done enormous damage today. Once may have said, okay, go on, if you can win the stage, just go and do it. But in doing so, he's set the cat amongst the pigeons. If you have such things at this altitude, I suppose you get albatrosses or something. In fact, not far from it, there's a bird that gets bones and flies up into the sky and drops them down, so it crashes onto rocks and it eats the marrow inside. So watch it, you riders. There are the Pyrenees, and once they finish today, they'll turn their backs on that massive mountain range and head off back down towards Madrid. Still a couple of big days, mountains lying ahead of them, but not a mountaintop finish like today. And although it was a bit boring early on in the Tour of Spain, I shouldn't say that really, because it was sprinting all the day as far as the race was concerned, but the riders were a bit fed up if they didn't have any mountains to climb. They had more than their fair share at the back end of this race now. A useful ride then by Jimenez, number 26, hanging on to this little group. He's another man who's not well placed overall in general classification at the moment. I've been caught out in that mad break on the day 3. Oh, he's really struggling here. At the front, as ever, it's a bit like when you watch the Oxford and Cambridge boat race, isn't it? One team that wins goes across the line and goes, "Ray, Ray, Ray," and they all sort of sit around looking quite happy with themselves, and the other team that comes across the line in their boat just almost fall out the boat in sheer exhaustion. And the difference between Rincon up in the front here, who's romping on trying to get his stage victory, and Escart in the back here, is most remarkable. Toshin's got back up to Zülle in the yellow jersey here, and the reddish coloured jersey, Jalabert leading on the points classification. Still Rominger on the front, riding ahead of Dufo, and this Pistori from MG. So the people who are losing out on general classification at the moment, Faustini, he's dropped way back. He was in 5th spot at 7:22 this morning, so he could be dropping further down the overall. And I haven't seen what happened to Rebellin either, the Polti rider. So Faustini and Rebellin could be in trouble. Malcolm Maury's not with this lot either. Tony Rominger, who started out today just some 10 seconds behind Malcolm Maury, the Onse team, will certainly be moving up the general classification because Maury's way down the pile. So Rominger could be moving up into around about 5th or 6th place, just behind Rincon here, who's not worried overall with general classification. He lies 38th at 33 minutes and 38 seconds. But what a big change we're seeing today on the GC. Toshnik back in this group here, looking very comfortable at the moment, but this man looks like he's heading for victory. Oliver Rincon of Colombia looking for victory today, and unless something terrible happens, he's going to ride up into the mountains, into the Pyrenees, to finish at the top of this tremendous climb, 1,930 meters above sea level, to take a well-deserved and well-judged victory today. The Colombian will remember this one, I'm sure, to add to the success he had. He started out in 1993 riding in Europe when he won a stage in the Tour de France. He won a stage in the Tour of Spain then, a stage in the Dauphiné Libéré when he finished 2nd. He went on to win a stage in Tour of Aragon as well. So Rincon, now coming to the end after some 3 years of professional cycle racing, has now got his stage again in the Tour of Spain, having ridden the distance in 4 hours, 11 minutes and 54 seconds for the 165 kilometres. The gap back then to the group coming in here, and on the general classification, 2nd overall, 1st overall, 3rd overall, 4th overall are all in this little group here. But the man, Tony Rominger, who at the moment lying in 9th spot, comes in with them and fighting to get back up on equal terms. 3 other riders trying to close the gap down. Jalabert leads out, followed by Dufo, followed by Rominger, and the gap then back to the lot about to be 40 seconds out of thought. Jalabert taking 2nd spot, takes X seconds bonus, and behind him Dufo. And that looks like Faustini's made it. He must have come good at the back end. I think that was Faustini coming across the line then. And certainly 2 of the Calme riders, and probably Rebellin came back towards the end. But certainly Faustini, who I thought was way out the back, looks like he came through and lost only about 6 seconds on that group. As Clavero coming up here with Andrea Perron and Clavero, Perron for Motorola, Clavero just behind him for the MX Honda Eurosport team. and Alex Zülle showing the pain today. He really took a bit of a bad patch. But the elated man from the Once team, Oliver Rincon, can save that moment when he gets back home to his wife and family. As Giannetti just comes in across the line, 141 down. Look, he's not well, he's struggling. He's not usually capable of standing the distance, this man, but let's keep our fingers crossed for the future. Zülle is not well at all. The overall leader on general classification being helped here, and Jalabert just tapping him on the top of the head. And certainly for my money today, Jalabert, who went away after Dufo, he could not attack Zülle because they ride for the same team, but Jalabert looked so strong today, and they start out 1 minute and 23 seconds apart on general classification. As the rest of the riders come in here, the way Zülle was when he blew on the mountain, he fought his way back, and he didn't look very well at all. Let's hope he's not sick, by the way, because one thing you can get travelling around and going into different hotels and eating different food, you can get their dose of Spanish tummy. And we can all remember last year when the spaghetti that they had in one hotel laid low at least 2 teams and some journalists and some officials and what have you. And in fact, the amazing thing that Stephen Hodge, he told me his most famous food that he likes most of all is spaghetti bolognese and ratatouille. That's his favourite meal to cook. Well, you have to be careful if you eat it somewhere and it doesn't do your tummy any good at all. Let's hope that Zülle hasn't got a problem with his internals, because there's still a long way to go. Although I said this is the last of the mountain top climbs, we've still got some very, very tough mountains on the stages 19 and 20, then the time trial on stage 21. And of course, when you get the time trial, normally that's a part where Jalabert would expect not to go well against Zülle, but he is allowed freedom, of course, on the time trial. And so the time trial, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more days to go. Of course, if it is a bit of tummy trouble, then perhaps it can be sorted before then. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Alex Zülle, because I think he deserves a big major tour victory. He's a man who's always been threatening to come good and get himself a top spot. I mean, he's had a podium place, a 3rd spot in the Tour de France, but he hasn't actually won the biggest overall success of them all. That's a major tour yet, and he's poised to do just that. What was it last year when in his own home tour, the Tour of Switzerland, Zülle was leading with a couple of days to go and then got beaten on the penultimate day and finished off in 2nd spot, and that was a much shorter tour, about 10 days as such. So let's hope he's not sick, because we hate to see somebody lose a great big event like the Tour of Spain through sickness and illness. In fact, I'm just checking back now. Zülle hasn't finished in the top 3 in the Tour de France before you write up and say I've got it wrong again. I just had a quick check back there. He's certainly been a stage victor in the Tour, but he's always very fragile. And when he does get himself in a winning position, he has been up there. He took take the yellow jersey on that time when we had the opening race in Spain, when they went into San Sebastian. He took over the yellow jersey then, which somewhat confused me, of course. But Zülle progressively always has some problems. He crashes, he falls off. He did the same thing this year in the Tour de France. But let's keep our fingers crossed for him. And at least as far as Once is concerned, even if he isn't too well, his teammate Rincon is on top of the world stage victor today. So for me, David Duffield, it's time to say hasta mañana. The Seiko team have now taken up the chase, getting in toward the finish at the town of Zaragoza. And the strong wind today really has had its effects, but this little group of 4 at the front have made the most of it. We're looking now at Konashev riding in towards the end of the race. Looking good indeed, because there is Gianni Bugno in the blue, also rolling well. So this little breakaway group has got some 2 very experienced, capable riders in it. And Bo Hamburger, also a very seasoned competitor. That's him there on your screen at the moment. Always a courageous chap, prepared to have a go in the big tours as such. And the unknown quantity is the man as the car's just come up here to him, is that of the rider from the Cantino Tolo team, Paolo Vellotti. And there he is. Well, This Cantino Toller team, I should think they need a gold medal or another bottle of wine or something for their performance. Every day we've seen him having a go, and he's not in any way overawed by this. Look, he drifts towards the back now. He's going to sit in there and work. He's been working with the rest of them. And there are sometimes younger riders. I mean, Velotti is a new pro this year. They're often more inclined to sit in and let the stars do the work. And it's always sometimes understandable that a young new pro with not the experience over the great distance like they're coming today might want to sit in on the wheels and not do as much turns at the front. But he's been doing it there. The rainbow bands on the shirt sleeves of Gianni Bugno showing the next world champion, twice in fact world champion. And I wonder if, you see, every year Bugno just does something significant, and I bet he's got his eye on the World Championship this year, Gianni Bugno. He's just like that. You think Bugno's finished, he's not doing very much, he's struggling here, he's struggling there. I mean, he's not had a best of seasons so far in the big tours as such, and suddenly he pops up out of nowhere, and next thing you know, he's got himself a success, and everybody's talking about him again. So he can just time it extremely well, can Gianni Bugno. And this could be perhaps a stage victory today. Would just show that he's not all over yet. He was working very hard indeed in the past few days for looking after the interests of the best placed rider from his team on general classification, Roberto Pistori, and he really has worked himself into the ground, Gianni Bugno, just as a pure domestique. But now it's his opportunity to try and get a stage victory today. And he's well down on general classification, nearly 1 hour in arrears, so there's no chance really of him. There we are, 29 kilometres to go, so the gap, I think, around about 9 minutes at the moment, means that there's very little chance of this lot getting caught, and so who's going to get the stage victory? Have a go, and none of these riders are within 1 hour of the overall leader, Alex Zülle, on general classification, so they've been no threat today. They've been allowed a lot of freedom coming into Zaragoza, and the crowd are appreciating this effort, because there's nothing worse than the big bunch sweeping in my opinion, just coming in for a bunch sprint finish. Let's see what's happening now, as yes, I thought the people like Hamburger and the other rider from the Cantino Toller, Velotti, have to do what they can, because they will know the strength of Bugno. They'll know the strength of Konishev. They have to try and go from a long way out. It's Bo Hamburger that's thrown his hat in the ring first of all. Hamburger to go, steams away at the front then. And Hamburger now will realise that he hasn't got the strength. He's got to go back of this little lot. Now, will Bugno and Konishev sit there and let these other two go to the back? Because that's the danger. As far as Konishev and Bugno is concerned, they've got to try and stay near the front. This is okay now. And then I suspect they want these two young lads to come around. Off goes the rider from Cantino Toller, Velotti, attacks on the left-hand side. This is what they're going to do. And once they pull Velotti back, then Hamburger will try and do the same thing. Velotti's gone for a long one here. It's a tremendous burst of speed. Hamburger tried to go away, but he's dying at the back of this lot. Velotti still hammers away on the front. Konishev in the yellow tries to pull him back now. Both Konishev and Bugno go on the outside of Velotti. Bugno on the left-hand side starts to drive for the line. Looks over his shoulder and see Konishev going faster still. Bugno gives up. Konishev gets that one. A well-deserved victory then to go with his stages in the Tour de France and the Tour of Italy. Now Konishev takes the stage in the Tour of Spain, and there 5 hours 41 minutes of racing on the longest stage of the Tour of Spain results in a victory for the AKI GPM rider Dmitry Konishev, the Russian. Very pleased indeed, I'm sure, with that one. He's been trying all the way through to get something, a result of his efforts, and Bugno exhausted by that ride. I'm not surprised, because Gianni Bugno, apart from riding strongly all the way through, he didn't miss a beat. He wasn't prepared to sit on the back. He did all he could. He's been working so hard for Pistori in the mountains, working much harder than we normally see him in the circumstances, and so he missed out in the sprint. He thought he got it, but Konishev was by far and away the strongest man. And those are the problems when you finish. And look here at Bugno, who virtually falls off his bike with sheer exhaustion. He just gave up at the end. He'd had enough. He'd ridden himself into the ground. He tried to get the stage victory, but it didn't work. And so still, the rest of the field are yet to come in after our top 4 men have arrived at the finish, with Konishev the winner. Over the river, on the edge of Zaragoza, the riders now looking back at the sprint that gave the victory to Konishev on the left-hand side. The rest of the riders will be coming in now for 5th spot. Bunyo suddenly realised that he got nothing left in his legs. He tried so hard during the day to drive that one away. All these riders had used everything they got, and it was just down to the end, to the strength of Konishev taking him over the line in 1st spot. So look at that slow motion replay. It won't be long then before the big bunch comes into sight. They're all now over the top of the bridge over the River Ebro, and 120 odd riders will yet come into sight as Bunyo collapses from his efforts. And this is our man on his own between the 4 we saw cross the line in 1st, 2nd and 3rd and 4th spot. The bunch really completely misjudged it today. I think they were expecting those 4 men in front who went away at 97 kilometres to lose out towards the end, but he wasn't so, and Cantino Toller has already got 1 man over. What was he, about 3rd or 4th place? I didn't really take a great deal note. Sorry about that. I'm watching the sprint between Bunyo and Konishev, but if they can roll this one in here as well with Palon, if he can stay away, and this bunch coming up now, they only want another of their riders to get himself near the front of this little group, and they might get themselves the team award for the day. That'd be jolly interesting if they can do it. So the bunch still hammering along after the 4 leaders who've now crossed the line. That arrowhead to see who's going to search out for the 6th spot is going to be, because as yet I haven't seen them pull back. Young Andrea Palon, here he is. They've got him in their sights though. He's getting towards the 1 kilometre to go, and a very straight run in toward the finish it is, as they have gone along the Avenue de Navarra. They've gone across the river, and they're going to turn left into the River Rioja, Road Rioja, up the University's road in toward the finish, and he's hanging on. This is the left turn now, and he could just about hang on to it as he's got inside the final kilometre to go, and the rest of the bunch are after this young rider from Contino Toller. They really have entertained us all the way through this race, and I'm sure when they get back to Italy, the boss is going to say, well done chaps, you've done an extremely good job, and let's hope he hangs on in here. But the big bunch are coming up fast and furious now. The lead up they're going on for sprinters like Tom Steele, sprinters like the young Blademans, sprinters like Minali in there. They're all now thankful that they're coming in sight of the final day of the flattish one, or last but one day. We've got a big sprint finish in Madrid yet to come, and after a reasonably restful day as far as the main bunch is concerned, we've got 2 big mountainous days, tomorrow and the day after, and so until we get to Madrid on Sunday, it's the last chance for the sprinters to show their prowess. But they're a bit too late. Those 4 men that have gone away have gone across the line with Konishev in first, but who's going to finish the big bunch sprint off here to show that he's got the power? Still again, AKR begin to lead out on this one. The pale yellow jerseys, they got the stage victory. They won't know it yet. They may not have had it radioed back then. On the left-hand side, Werner for the telecom team is in the red, going very hard indeed. He's got Vust on his wheel. Vust is coming out the pack now. Vust tries to go for this one, but he's been cut up by the AKA rider. And suddenly for Pedicosino, somebody comes through and hasn't got that one, I think. In fact, he went to the man on the right-hand side of the screen from Santa Clara Samara. That could well be Smetanin of the Santa Clara Samara team that forced himself across the line finally, because Marcel Vust got himself in the wrong place, the wrong time, got cut up by the AKA rider, and then straight line sprint from the man on the extreme right hand side of that picture, and I think that was well the Santa Clara Samara rider, which you'll see on the action replay from the side in just a moment. Alex Zülle peeling off the front of this chasing group now at the moment, which really has blown the race apart at the seams. The news we've had coming over whilst we've been on the commercial break is that Jalabert now is, hold on to your hats, 8 minutes down on the leading group of Nardello, Dufo, Jimenez and Perron. The chase coming on here, the gap is inside 50 seconds. The last time we had something like about 16 or 17 men are trying to close up on that fast-moving 4 some up in the front. The Polte team are well represented here. There's Giannetti going through. There's a white jersey, Rominger in this little group. There's at least 2 more Poulty riders in there, which could well include Rebellin, who's lying 8th overall. But these are the riders that have done the damage today, and they certainly have, having started out this morning with a tremendous attempt by Nardello and Casero to split the field apart after that very, very fast start. 51 kilometres in the first hour, 49 kilometres in the second hour, 43 kilometres in the third hour, including climbing up the Alto de Pedro Bernardo. And really Nardello and Casero, Nardello you see now just moving through in the fancy pants, not the fellow in the blue, but the fellow who's now second in line, went away with Casero. They split the whole thing up. Bertacci went with them and got shelled out, and then they had Di Renzo at 1 minute, Apollonaro also trying to close the thing down. 3 minutes back to the main bunch. It began to close up on the climb of the Bernardo, but still Nardello and Casero stayed away. Jufro then attacked on the climb, and 19 riders, including Jufro and Rominger, split the whole field apart. The Once team was 30 seconds back, and then even further back, Jalabert was on his own and being in all sorts of trouble. And so Jufro took his opportunity, then left that group of riders, went up to Nardello and Casero, taking with him Perron here in the blue jersey of Motorola. Jimenez also joined up with him as well, and they then started to drive hard in toward the finish. So a tremendous set in today's racings, and one feels sorry for Jalabert if sickness has been the reason that he's dropping out of the second place, but he still has the red jersey as the leader on the points competition. Rominger just pulling off the front of this chasing group here, and the MX Honda rider moving through. He's been going rather well actually on the climbing. The MX Honda Eurosport rider, that's a Clevero. And then the 3 Poulty riders begin to take over too, because they can see the more gap they push between themselves and Jalabert, the more they'll move up the general classification. You think about Rominger in the white shirt, and we can't see him now at the moment, but he was something like 60-something overall in classification after the third day of this race, and that was, what, 16 stages ago. There he is, down the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. He stayed in the race. It just shows you the determination that you have to have as a bike rider, as the Lotus team manager comes up and speaks to Jufro, that Rominger was way off the pace, 60-something on general classification. Now this morning, he was lying in 6th spot, 8 minutes and 51 seconds down. And when you realise he lost 7 minutes and 30-odd seconds on the third day, if he hadn't lost that little lot, he would have been up there in at least 2nd spot, and maybe could have attacked for 1st spot. He just missed the break that day. The Mappe team couldn't pull back the Once drive, and so but he's persevered. I think that says something to any young bike rider saying, I want to be a rider and I want to ride these 3 big tours, that you don't pack up halfway through the race or climb off after 10 days sulking because you missed what's happening. If you stay with it and keep going, things can happen. And Rominger could well find himself up in, I don't know, 4th or 5th place at the end of this race. And who knows, tomorrow we've got some more big mountains. Well, he's a damn good time trialist too. He might even get 3rd or 4th. And that's after being decimated on day 3, which just shows you shouldn't give up. You keep going as long as you're physically capable of doing, and you just have determination, and you look for the good days when you can do something. You realise there's certain days when you can't. I mean, Romiger's not been in with the sprints. He's not been going hard on the flat parts. He's just bided his time, waited there, rode in the wheels, kept himself fit, just looked after himself, fed himself well, gone to bed, got his massage, and wait. The time comes in, pow! And today he's done yet another one of those pows. And now on the front then Zülle, who knows he's got to drive this one hard, because Jufro will be closing the gap on him if he stays out there to the end, because of 12 seconds bonus at the end of the stage, 12, 8 and 4. So Jufro could be a great threat to Zülle unless they keep that gap tight, because tomorrow we've got some more big climbs as well. Wow, what a finish to the race. I just hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. We've had all sorts of days in this race, literally sort of wandering through the countryside where there's nothing to see as far as the eye can see, like we've got here, dead flat, and nobody doing much except wandering along for 2 hours to finish with 3 or 4 men up in front. And I hope you've enjoyed and survived with Eurosport's coverage of some pretty quiet days, but right now, like me, you're enjoying what looks to me like a very great day's race. Poor old Nardello here now, hanging on by his bootstraps. He's really struggling. It looks like he might get dropped off that leading group, and let's see. It can't be much more than half a minute now. that back group. Well, actually, it's the second group on the road. We're looking at, what, about 16 riders here, 4 up in front, say 20 riders. We started this morning with 120, and whilst we're watching this interesting race with the top people here, it's 43 seconds he's back to the group, just bear a thought, there's another 100 riders way behind this lot who will be so far down on general classification and timing, they're going to be coming in, I suppose, only up to 10, 15, even 20 minutes or more down on the race you're watching live on Eurosport this afternoon. Just 10 k's to go, and that's our 4-man group. So Nardella has clawed his way back, and there he is, just the back of this little breakaway group. The chasing group here, the gap around about 40 seconds between the 4 leaders and this group here with the Pulte team. The one thing which is going to make it difficult for our 4 leaders to stay away is that Pulte have 3 men here who are determined to drive this one hard as well, to punch all the time they can between themselves and Jalabert, who's sagged off the back and is now over 8 minutes down. So they're determined to ride this one hard. Pistori now coming through as well. He's another man benefiting from the problems of the day, and so as Escartin, I think he's also coming through now. He's lying 14th overall. He'd like to get the top 10 as well on general classification. Romiger's in there driving. There's some very good blokes in this break at the moment, or in this bunch, what's left of it, and they aren't going to give up without a fight. So we've got 4 men being chased down by about 16, of which the Motorola riders, the 2 of them in here, Axel Merckx and Bobby Julich in the blue and red jersey, if the camera picks them back out again, they won't come through and do anything because they've got a rider down the road, so they won't chase anything out. The amazing thing is that Romiger's been doing quite a bit of chasing on the front, but he's got Nardello there in the Map 8 team, and I can't quite understand Romiger's tactics here. It's obviously that he wants to help Zülle for some reason. Perhaps he's trying to get himself further up general classification, because Nardello is way down on GC. I'm just having a look where he is at the moment. He's a bit off the pace somewhat, so Nardello isn't, Nardello's what, 22nd on general classification, 21 minutes and 17 seconds, so there's not much that Romiger can do to disturb his overall general classification position, and if they just stay within about maybe 10 seconds or so of that 4-man group when they get to the finish, as we see some rally driving going on here. Don't put your wheels down the ditch, Mrs. Worthington, whatever you do. He's going to demand. Oh, watch the sign! Oh dear, the team manager came up on the inside and nearly took the 10 kilometre go banner with him. No, it's in 10. Some other side he nearly took, but the 10 one is a great big pop-up balloony thing. Oh dear. Live on Eurosport this afternoon. I've never seen anybody demolish a banner before, but it nearly happened then. Hey, the way this fellow's going. Laurent Dufaux. And then Pennon going through. Let's talk about Dufaux. See that fellow there in the blue shorts. Born on the 20th of May 1969. Well, there we are. I've said it before some days ago. I'll say it again. The same as my birthday, the 20th of May, but I wasn't born in 69, not on your Nelly, no, not by no means. But I'm glad to see somebody born the same day, but a bit later is now going well. As the fix on our screen makes it difficult to see what the distance is, but I think that was 15 k's to go toward the finish. And as the Pulte team wind up the charge, let me talk to you more about Laurent Dufaux then. He comes from Chemin de la Vallerette. He's married to Veronique, who's no doubt glued to the screen at the moment to see what he's up to. He's been a professional since 1991, and we're looking back again at the main group coming through. And he was, in 1991, he won the Cup of Placia. He was also the Swiss champion and won the Route du Sud. So he came in with a bang, as we're watching here. Yet another attack coming off the front. Oh, 8 kilometres to go. So we're a lot less than I thought. I'll come back to Dufaux in just a moment. I'll watch see what's happening back here. Now, is this Faustini? If so, I can't comprehend why he should want to bury himself at this particular point. But he thinks that he can get across there to join up with that little group up in front. I can't see that the people behind are just going to let him go away that easy off the front. And perhaps he ought to. I can't quite understand the tactics here, because the 4 men down the road, the main group don't seem to be able to catch them very easy. But he's prepared to have a go and try and pull them back. Well, good luck to you, sir. And there we are. You can see him there wedged in no man's land. was Faustini. And there he is. 7 kilometres to go for our breakaway group. But again, Dufo rolling through in the dark blue pants, the Lotus Festina rider, and Perron starting to ride hard on the front. So let's go back to the man now moving through on the front. I said he'd been ex-champion of Switzerland in 1991, the first year he turned pro. He's gone on then as Faustini tries to bridge that gap to win stages and things like the Dauphiné Libéré, when in fact he also won the Dauphiné Libéré in 1993 overall, and he repeated that in 1994 when he won the final of the Dauphiné Libéré in 1994. That's a stage race which is one of the early ones, well, one of the ones which is about 7 or 8 days, I suppose, and quite well respected stage race in France. And then last year he won a couple of stages in the Tour of Burgos and was the overall victor in the Tour of Burgos, and he also won the Tour of Wathenberg in Switzerland, or should I say Bathenberg. But so there you are, that's the man at the back of this little lot now, who likes, by the way, mountains and going to the cinema. Well, he can put his feet up after today, I suppose, and watch whatever is on the box, because he's worked hard today. But the thing is, can he stay out there and get the stage victory, an extra 12 seconds bonus? Really, he's been the man of the race today, I suppose, although Nardello, just in front of us now, with in the bluish, rather fancy pants, was one of those riders who went away with Casero early on, split the whole thing up. The man who's been doing most of the driving has been Laurent Dufo of Switzerland. A nice mixed bunch of bike riders here trying to chase him down at the moment. And I think what they're trying to do is two things. First of all, to see if they can get him with a shout for the possibility of a stage victory, and secondly, to put what distance they can between themselves and the people who are struggling off the back of this break. Overall race leader. That's interesting. They're now 8 kilometres to go. It's 5 miles. Look at the white jersey goes. That's Rominger. Then the next one, the yellow one with the white hat, that was Zülle. Rominger is leading out Zülle all the way through. There seems to be some sort of, I won't say burying of the hatchet, but there seems to be some way in which Rominger is helping Zülle. We saw him do it the other day, actually. Now they're 5 kilometres for the finish, so there's still 3k. In fact, the gap must be growing. I must get a time check going here, because we're not getting them at all. So I will now start my own individual time check, doesn't it, while I shake the sand up in my egg timer, and we'll see how we go. Well, I think for Dufo today, as we watch Faustini now, they put the clock on this one. Okay, I think that Dufo really has done what John Herity said. I picked these words out of Cycling Weekly, which has found its way across into Europe for me to read, and it was to do with the British team in the Tour de l'Avenir. And it was a lovely comment from John Herity. He said, if you don't buy any tickets, he was the team manager of the Tour de l'Avenir team, by the way, and the gap now, you see, 41 seconds. John Herity said, and thank you Cycling Weekly for printing this, he said, if you don't buy any tickets, you can't win the tombola. Words of wisdom from the British team manager. And what he meant, of course, if you don't go out there and don't get in a break, if you don't put yourself in a position to win something, you can't win anything. So Dufo today has really gone and bought a hatful of tickets in the tombola, and has really turned the whole race on its head. They could easily just race to the mountain prize, something else, taking it easy, gone for stage victory, but he's gone and bought a hatful of tickets, and I hope by the end he brings out one at the hat, which means that he's going to, well, he's certainly going to benefit from the race today with Jalabert so far back. But let's hope he survives to the end and this little group stay away and get themselves across the line before that main pack hunts them down.
Ale, Chaba, ale!
The shouting coming up from behind here, trying to stir this like that 40-second gap. You just imagine, they've had no more than a minute's lead. Since about 50 kilometres now, or so 40 odd kilometres. They've always been there or thereabouts. They've been driving, and this man Faustini's now gone across to try and close that gap down on his tub, and it does seem to be a bit of a strange thing to do, and perhaps he's going to be wise enough to sit up and let this big bunch haul him back in again. Faustini start this morning, 7th spot overall, 9 minutes and 9 seconds down. Tony Rominger, who's in that little group behind him, was 8:51, so there are in fact looking at those two, some 18 seconds separated. So perhaps Faustini is trying to jump over the top of Rominger. We shall see. Running into finish then on the stage 19 from Getafe to Avia, 217 kilometres of racing today. This breakaway group of 4 men now, and Dufo say, come on, let's get stuck in. The gap is still running about 40 seconds back to the main pack as they now inside 3 kilometres to go. And so Jalabert now is 13 minutes back, and Malano Sainz said to everybody across the radio that Jalabert is sick. So Jalabert now is losing some 13 minutes. He's going to drop probably outside the top 10. So sackcloth and ashes and crying up there in Scotland from my good friends, the Selly family, who watch it avidly on Eurosport, and like many others of Great Britain's are friends, are supporters of Jalabert, but it's not his day today. And looking down to that little group there, we know that on the general classification that Zülle is in this group at the moment. Dufo is in the breakaway group. Pistori is with that group. Toshnik must be here from Polti and Rebellin, because I've seen 3 of the Polti riders, including Gianetti. We know also Rominger is in that group. Faustini is there. We haven't seen Malcolm Mowry of the Onse team. He was 9th this morning, because there's no Onse riders in that chasing group at all. So he's going to drop out of contention. Bobby Julich of Motorola is in there. He was 10th this morning, so he'll move up probably into 8th place today. Andre Perron, who's there in the blue jersey of Motorola, could well move up as well. He was 11th this morning. He looks like being 9th at the end of today. So there's quite a number of changes going on as they move into this very ancient city of Avia. And here we are going past these main walls, the big walls, the main attraction of the town of Avia. It's the only complete walls of its like around any Spanish city today. They look medieval, they are medieval, but they date back to Roman foundations, and they go to circuit all around here before they come up into the finish. The Romans actually started this fortress here as a defence against the Celtic tribes, which they chucked out of the area. And then after the 8th century, the same problem happened again when the constant wars between the Moors and the Christians took place. So it's been in the fine line many years in the past, and you can see these beautifully preserved walls in the background. We're seeing a fine line today. Laurent Jalabert, who won a stage here last year in the Tour of Spain, when he triumphantly rode in the yellow jersey as the overall race leader, a jersey which took right through to the finish of the Tour last year. Jalabert, winner in Avia last year. He'd been in the yellow jersey since the stage up to Alto Naranco on stage 3, but right now Jalabert is sick. He's 13 minutes down. They batter themselves over these cobbles, but they've been up on the time trial already in this race. You may remember our coverage as Jimenez begins to fly off the back of this group now. We had the time trial from El Tiemblo to Avia. Tony Rominger won that one. Zülle took over the yellow jersey on that day. Baldato dropped out of contention, became the points leader. Bobby Julich was in the Kingdom Manus jersey. That was when he had the time trial stage in the Tour of Spain, just way back there on the 17th of September, 10th stage race. We're back in Avia right now, an eventful day, as this man here, Dufo, is riding on to take himself up into 2nd place overall general classification. He's 3rd at 5:17. Well, so maybe Jalabert may have suffered today through sickness, but this man knew he had to put the hammer down. He had to ride the Onse into the ground. He's doing it on his own. He's riding himself into a stage victory, the first one for the Lotus Festina team in the Tour of Spain this year. He's bettered himself all day. He's encouraged his breakaway groups to go for it. He's been driving them along, and now he's riding away from it. Every second is going to count. He's got to get closer and closer to Alex Zülle and try and do the same thing tomorrow, because then we go into time trial the next day, which really will be the day when Zülle should come good, because Zülle likes time trialing. But Zülle hasn't looked too good. We saw him 2 days ago getting off his bike and went up to the big climb at the end of the stage into Karpatchenko. He was really in trouble. He was coughing and spluttering. He did not like the climb. In fact, no, it's Amprio. So Zülle is not as yet completely home and dry by any means. He's leading his pack up here now. He's come good. He's been helped by Tony Rominger in the white jersey. But down the road, Dufo is going to win this stage for his teammates, for his team, Lotus Festina. He's done it in fine style. He's been the strongest man all day long. He's riding in here now to probably one of his greatest successes ever. A stage victory in the Tour of Spain, taking him up in the 2nd spot overall. He hasn't just drifted in with the breakaway group. He's going to really punch every second out is what he can do. A brilliant ride by Laurent Dufo of the Lotus team, who takes the stage into Avia from Getafe on this, the 19th stage of the Tour of Spain. In 2nd spot, Nardello. 3rd, Perron. 4th, Jimenez. And here comes the main pack, led in by Bobby Julich. And the sprinters start to wind it up what's left of them in this main pack here. And it looks like, because I don't know quite why he's going as fast as this, but Faustini trying to drive this one hard in the front, and the Pedicasino rather coming up to him too as well. Pistori on the right-hand side probably gets it on the line, just ahead of a great wodge of Pulte riders, but the Motorola team also very happy to get Axel Merckx and Bobby Julich across the line together. But Pulte probably might well take the team award today. They had 3 men in that little group closely packed together, although Benesto also had a man first and second. In fact, no, I think their third place man has drifted off the pace here, so it could be Pulte get the team award today. But the man who's going to get all the plaudits, all the flowers, all the I suppose press interest is Laurent Dufaux, who today has given us one of those epic performances of which great tours are made of. Because we've been racing now for 19 days, and here he is. You imagine that now. We've done something like about over 2,000 miles, and you just watch that man ride himself into the ground to win the stage. And their little ad for Peugeot on his nice yellow and blue Peugeot bicycle. So the French will be happy too. Although this team originally was registered in Andorra, now it's registered in France. It's sponsored by Lotus, who make watches, and they sell them also under the Festina brand in Europe. So Lotus Festina. Of course, that's a team of my good friend Stephen Hodges worked with on Eurosport in the past as well. So I'm overjoyed. This lad also, like myself, is born on the 20th of May. Celebrations tonight. I don't know if I had to buy champagne after this one, but I think that's great. What a brilliant day.